Christopher Nolan went completely crazy with the Odyssey. And not only is it confirmed that Lupita Nyong'o will be Helen of Troy in the movie, yes, incredible, they've confirmed it, but also Christopher said the following, pay attention. Christopher Nolan explains his decision to cast Travis Scott, the rapper, in the leading role in the Odyssey. I chose him as the main character because I wanted to highlight the idea that this story has been passed down through the ages in the form of oral poetry, something similar to rap. Seriously, Christopher Nolan said this. And you know, when I saw this comment, the first thing I thought was that it wasn't true, that this was fake news, that they had made it up because of all the controversy around the Odyssey. I said, no, this isn't real. It's just that it can't be real, and yet it is. It turns out that Christopher Nolan really did say this, just like that. I mean, I don't know if at this point Christopher Nolan is making fun of us or trolling us or what the heck, but what this guy is doing just seems crazy to me. We're talking, guys, about the fact that Christopher Nolan isn't just any director. He's one of the best directors in history from my point of view. There are people who think he's not, but I personally believe that he really is one of the best in history. And just look at this. I mean, the guy lost it with this movie. Now, maybe the movie is wonderful. It could be. It could have masterful performances. The movie could be really well directed, really well made. Yeah, but honestly, knowing that Travis Scott is going to be in it, and on top of that, Lupita Nyong'o is going to be Helen of Troy, the most beautiful woman in the world for whom an entire army is going to give their lives. I mean, how do you justify it? Honestly, how do you justify that this is the most beautiful woman in the world, the most beautiful on the planet? In my view, it's unjustified. I mean, nobody's going to believe this. And I know maybe some of you might tell me that Lupita Nyong'o isn't ugly. Some of you might even find her attractive. Okay, I don't feel the same way. Everyone has different tastes. But come on, she's definitely not the most beautiful woman in the world. Not even close. She doesn't even compete. She's nowhere near that. She's in a whole different league. And honestly, I think it's crazy. No one is buying this. That's why I say, what the heck is up with this Christopher Nolan thing? And on top of that, after seeing all this, I actually think maybe Ellen Page is Achilles. The brave warrior, one of the most powerful. I think Ellen Page will play Achilles. It's not confirmed, but I'm starting to believe it. This is going to be ridiculous. Just imagine Ellen Page, who's 1.55 meters tall, because that's how tall Ellen Page is. Someone who's 1.55 meters tall is going to play a warrior who, back in the movie Troy, was masterfully played by Brad Pitt. Just imagine Ellen Page there. Well, he says his name is Elliot now. Well, whatever. The point is that from my point of view, if this actually happens, it's going to be crazy. And just to be clear, Ellen Page is going to be in the Odyssey movie. We still don't know which character, but everything seems to indicate it's going to be Achilles. If this happens, it's just insane. I mean, it's going to be totally crazy. But first, let's talk about our sponsor, CyberGhost VPN. You know, I like to travel around the world, and when you're in airports, hotels or cafes, you often have to connect to public Wi-Fi networks. And here's where the problem comes in. That's very dangerous, because even if you feel safe, many people can still see what you're doing online. Your internet provider, public networks, and some websites can track your activity without you knowing. And this is where CyberGhost VPN comes in, with more than 38 million users worldwide and an almost perfect rating on Trustpilot. It's one of the most reliable services out there. All you have to do is take action. Activate it before browsing to automatically encrypt your connection and route all traffic through secure servers. This keeps your online activity private. Plus, they have servers in more than 100 countries, so you can change your location in seconds. CyberGhost also unlocks geo-restricted content and games. On more than 40 streaming platforms, change your virtual location to the United States and access up to 50% more content on Netflix, Prime, Disney+, and many more platforms. And yes, it works incredibly well. CyberGhost is available on all devices, and you can protect up to 7 devices at the same time, so you can even share it with family or friends. And something key, they don't keep logs, meaning not even they know what you do online. If you want to browse peacefully without anyone watching what you do, this is the moment. If you use the link in the description, you can get up to 83% off plus 4 months free. Also, you have a 45-day guarantee, so you're not risking anything. Don't forget, if what you want is security, privacy, and speed with just one click, CyberGhost VPN is your best option. Let's continue. And here's one that says, at this point, Christopher Nolan is just making fun of us. All of this is just too ridiculous. I totally agree. In fact, look at some of the comments. The remake of Homer's Odyssey, directed by Christopher Nolan, will be garbage. Let's look at the cast. Achilles will be played by Elliot Page, a woman or a trans person. Helen of Troy will be played by the actress Lupita Nyong'o. Athena will be played by Zendaya. Well, as far as I know for now, we only know about Helen of Troy for now. But I wouldn't be surprised if everything else ends up being confirmed. In fact, here they ask us, is there any Greek person involved in Christopher Nolan's movie The Odyssey? Or is cultural appropriation only offensive when it happens in one direction? I think this comment is very accurate. None of these people are Greek and they're going to play in a movie about Greeks. It's completely crazy. Here they say, my goat, Christopher Nolan. What were you thinking? No, this is a total insult. Just look at Brad Pitt playing Achilles. I think it's a good representation of the warrior Achilles. And here, guys, let me remind you, Ellen Page is 1.55 meters tall. This is going to be the brave warrior Achilles. Super strong, invincible. Well, almost invincible, indestructible, almost indestructible. Simply ridiculous. It just doesn't make any sense. In fact, you know who actually was respectful of the culture? Mel Gibson. Look, Mel Gibson logically chose two actors of Mexican origin as the protagonists of Apocalypto. That's very true. It would have been absurd if he had chosen Brad Pitt and Charlize Theron to play two young Mayans. It's not that hard to understand. Totally agree. I mean, Mel Gibson did a great job, but what these people are doing is just ridiculous. And honestly, I wonder why. Seriously, why? What's the need to do this? Look, now it's official. Lupita Nyong'o will play Helen of Troy, the most beautiful woman in the world in the Odyssey. I'm asking you, what's the need? Why really do it? Why do it? I mean, this isn't even going to generate positive opinions. In fact, quite the opposite. So I asked myself why. Why does Christopher Nolan really need this in his career, in such a successful career? Honestly, I don't think so. And well, who knows? Maybe the movie is good and surprises us, but it already has a huge black mark. Guys, the Greeks are calling for a boycott of this movie. The Greeks consider this a lack of respect for their culture, and they're right, guys, it's just unbelievable. Now let's just look at the things people are saying, because it's unbelievable. Here they're telling us Christopher Nolan chose Travis Scott for The Odyssey because oral poetry is supposedly an analogy to rap. Hollywood has really gone overboard with rap. Yeah, sure. Here they're telling us Greek poets in the year 490 BC and now Greek poets appear here in the year 2026. This is a Greek poet, supposedly. Incredible. Now here they tell us about Achilles, the one they gave us, the one we wanted. Well, of course, now to add diversity, inclusion and all that kind of stuff, they would have been better off giving us this one instead of Achilles. I think it would have been much more decent, much more acceptable, and we would have taken it for what it is, like a joke, because what Christopher Nolan is doing here, at least with the casting of the characters, is a joke. It's a joke. It really seems like he's making fun of everyone. But what do you all think about Christopher Nolan and The Odyssey? Honestly, all of this looks really bad. We'll be keeping an eye on the movie because something crazy is coming. Now you know, click the link in the description to get CyberGhost VPN's special discount for this channel's viewers. You'll be able to protect your data while you browse and also have access to blocked content on the internet for just 2.03 euros a month, and the best part is it's totally risk-free. So give it a try. The link is in the description. Thanks to CyberGhost VPN for sponsoring this video.